Okay, kids, I wasn't not gonna do it because I started making these videos while reviewing The Force Awakens. I'm gonna continue it and review The Last Jedi. So I was scared going in this movie, guys, because I saw the trailers and it looked fantastic. But then I heard that people had problems with it. I heard that Mark Hamill didn't like the things that happened with Luke in the movie, and I would generally trust his judgment. So I was like, oh shit, what if it's bad? What if Luke turns to the dark side? What if, you know, something awful happens? But it's actually it's excellent. Like, it is a really good movie. I mean, genuinely. Admittedly, I'm still kind of riding the high because I saw it last night. But it was a really good movie. I don't know what everyone's complaining about. I mean, I'm sorry, did we want Luke Skywalker to be perfect or something? No. Gosh, the stuff they did with Luke was fantastic. Like, it was really, I mean, this movie had me on a roller coaster because, especially the stuff with Luke and Rey and Kylo Ren, because it was like, oh my god, what is the truth? You know, and I was just on the edge of my fucking seat. Where are they gonna go with this, you know? Even to the final kind of confrontation that Rey and Kylo have, it was just, it was fantastic. There were so many ways, you know, I was just like, I don't know where this is gonna go, you know? Is he gonna turn back to the light? Suddenly it seemed possible. Oh my god, fuck. It was just so good, it was so good. And, oh my god, I love that the First Order just has a ton of just enormous ships. Like, they've got like a ton of these just ridiculously huge spaceships. Like, that is what I'm in Star Wars for, guys. I love this shit. And, like, at the same time, their leadership is this, like, gross old man in a bathrobe and this deeply emotionally fucked up, like, young man. I mean, Kylo's older than I am, but whatever. You know, young man who has, like, emotional issues and keeps destroying things, and also Hux, who sucks, which is hilarious. Hux sucks. And I mean, my friends and I, we were just laughing throughout so many of the First Order scenes. I mean, partly because they're meant to be funny at times, but also just because we cannot take these people seriously. And I think that's sort of fun. Like, as an adult, I don't feel like I want to be maybe that scared of the Empire. Conceptually horrifying, of course, and the First Order parallels in the real world of kind of the regrowth of fascism and everything, and you're like, but it's fun to laugh at them. For real. Well, at the same time knowing, of course, they could destroy the entire, you know, resistance with, you know, that fast, if they can just catch up to them. Oh, there's some fantastic stuff with the Force in this, too. I loved the scene where Luke finally begrudgingly is like, alright, fine, I'll teach you a lesson, and explains to Rey what the Force is, because she doesn't even know. I mean, it was funny, it was just good, man. It was funny, my friends and I had, you know, these predictions we made just kind of goofily at the beginning of the movie, and one of my friend's prediction was that at some point Luke would quote Yoda. He actually never does, which we thought was interesting. He never quotes Yoda verbatim. He has his own way of explaining these things to Rey, and I just love the scene where she's reaching out when she figures out how to do it properly. Sweetheart. And it's just feeling everything around her. And I love Luke in this movie because he was frightened, because he's damaged, because he's been hiding himself away from the Force for all these years. I mean, how long is it supposed to have been? Like 12 years or something? I don't know where I'm getting that number, but I feel like it's approximately correct. And, you know, that he's got this great secret, this great regret, that I mean, I don't know if this is the problem that everyone had. Like, the fact that Luke would have a moment of weakness where he considers, you know, where he's like, my apprentice has all this darkness in him. I mean, and I get it, Luke. The universe is a scary place in Star Wars, and Luke has already seen how much suffering the dark side can bring. So, what's important is that it's only for a moment, and it's just long enough to ruin everything. But he regrets it. He's regretted it all these years. That's why he's, you know, living on a fucking sadness island in the middle of nowhere. Luke. And this whole, like, oh, letting go of all the things in the past, is that not the most Jedi thing? You've got to let go of everything, right? And that has got to include the traditions of the Jedi. I mean, you take it far enough. The idea that, well... And, you know, that was one of the things I was scared of, because I love the Jedi. I do, truly. And I was afraid that this movie would try to invalidate this idea of, like, for example, the light side and the importance of the light side. But the movie made it clear that the light is not something which comes from the Jedi exclusively, that it is something that it is important, like, to have that and to keep to it, but it's not like they create it. It's not like the Jedi... I don't even know what I'm saying, but I really liked it. I did. I mean, I had all these fears, and they were totally alleviated by how great this movie was, and... You know, I mean, I think we all have our own interpretations of how the Jedi work, how the Force works. I know I do. And mine are usually not even borne out by the movies themselves. For example, I tend to think of the Force as... And I know this is a little weird because, like, it's a fictional thing. So, my own interpretations of it, especially if they're actually contradicted by canon, you know, I should probably just give that up. But it's also philosophical. Whatever. I think of the Force as something which does not actually have light and dark sides. It's simply something which exists, and it's how we use it, which brings about the dark or the light. And actually, I tend to think, if I'm going to take it a little further, and maybe even a little further away from Star Wars actual canon, would be that the Force is light. Not like literal photons, but like that the Force that binds everything, that is created by life, can only be good. And that the dark is something that comes from within us. Because I guess I think of it kind of like, in reality, in nature, you know, things die, and that's not bad. It's just a fact. It becomes bad when somebody deliberately kills someone or something, you know, because they're being cruel or because they're trying to take advantage of a situation or whatever. That is where the bad comes in. But death is inevitable, so it can't be bad, I guess. And, you know, even stars burn out. Whatever. I loved this movie, holy fuck. Okay, let's try and talk about some other plot or something. What are my other kids up to? Oh my god, Poe. Poe was in this movie a lot, which I super appreciated because, I mean, he was in The Force Awakens, you know, but then there was that kind of long stretch where he wasn't around because they thought he was dead and blah, blah, blah. And in this movie, he actually gets a character arc, you know, in the story. So that was pretty great. I felt like actually Finn didn't really get as much character arc in this movie. And I wish maybe he'd had a little bit more, but I did really enjoy Finn running around with Rose, who was adorable, oh my god. Plus, like, I guess, no, I mean, I think I can think of it and think, like, Finn has definitely had, because it's also worth considering that this movie takes place, like, at most a month after the first one. So it's like, you know, not much time has passed at all. And, I mean, frankly, it begins, with Rey at least, it begins where the other one ended. But there's probably some time, you know, in between wherein she was traveling to meet Luke. So I'm saying, you know, and then this movie takes place over a fairly short period of time. But, because, like, there's this whole running clock countdown with the fuel running out. Anyway. So with Finn, you know, a lot of his loyalty in the first movie, I mean, he was certainly never joined the Order, absolutely not, but he doesn't have, I don't think, that same loyalty to the Resistance that that Poe specifically does, because he hasn't maybe had a chance to develop it. Like, his loyalty is to Rey predominantly, so it's not really surprising in this movie that as soon as he's healed and realizes, I mean, props to him, he's perfectly willing to help the Resistance, definitely, you know, from the get-go, but as soon as he learns, oh, okay, so Rey is going to come back here because of that tracker thing that Leia's got, but we're in the middle of a shitstorm. So then his immediate, like, thought is, okay, I've got to find a way to save Rey from coming into a situation like this, etc., etc. And then, of course, Rose catches him and thinks he's trying to sneak away for less altruistic reasons. Whatever. Anyway, so I guess him continuing to work for the Resistance and not taking any further opportunity to run off to try and find Rey is probably some sort of development. But I felt like, at least as far as what I have a handle on from one viewing, is Poe's character thing, which is, I thought was interesting, because, you know, you go from, first of all, that first scene where he's making fun of Hawks, hilarious, and also blowing up all those cannons, oh my god, he can fly like a dream. I am in love. I was like, damn, that's such a great pilot. I was like so impressed. But yeah, so he's disobeying orders, and then, you know, the whole mission just, they do destroy the Dreadnought, but like a bunch of people die and it's just no good. Like, and then of course he gets in trouble and he gets demoted, and I mean, I think he's supposed to be the head of his squadron, so I'm not really sure whether he still is, but they didn't really discuss that, so maybe he still is. He just has a lower rank now. I always get a little confused with the ranks in Star Wars because they're actually different than the ranks in Star Trek. Because in Star Trek, a captain is above a commander, but in Star Wars, I think it's the other way around. At least it was in the books, which are not canon anymore, so whatever. Who fucking knows? I don't know why a commander would be a higher rank than captain. I think there was some notion in the books, like maybe that technically anybody who owns a ship is a captain, so that's whatever. So like they would call Han Captain Solo, even though like rank wise he was like a general or something. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, so then Poe has to go through, you know, and then of course he's like immediately disobeying orders again and thinks, okay, I've got this whole plan, but we can't tell anybody, you know, and then finds out later that the generals and, you know, Leia and General Holdo, or whatever her name was, I had a plan too. Just because they didn't tell him didn't mean they didn't have one. There's a chain of command, my dude. So, you know, and to their credit, they're not even really as angry with him as they could have been, because he practically fucked it all up. And yeah, so it's just interesting to consider how much of the plot could have been avoided if Poe Dameron would just, like, listen to orders. But bless him anyway. And then, of course, in the last fight they're having where they're attacking the walkers, and the cannon thing, it's Poe that realizes we can't take that thing out, it's too late, we need to break off. And it's Finn who is kind of gunning for it. I need to see the movie again, man, like, immediately. But I don't really understand why Finn was just immediately like, yes, self-sacrifice, that's how we're going to play this. I don't know. Because it doesn't really seem like he wants to die, but... I don't know. I hope we get some more, more good stuff with Finn in the next movie that really explores how he feels like where he feels like his place in the galaxy is at this point. Because I think that's a complicated subject, and I'm curious. And then Rose saves him. And she loves him. So, sure. Another ship to add to the pile. Oh, Rose is so cute. I love her. I mean, I thought she's adorable since I saw kind of the first pictures of the actress who plays her, who was really... She's got, like, these cheeks. She's just so cute. And, yeah. I like that, I like that she and Finn could kind of bond over being, maintenance and kind of like doing jobs that are a lot less glamorous than the flyboys of the world. And that they have that in common, and I like the whole sequence in the casino, and they rescue the animals, and it's all very sweet. So he was a fun character because, like, you're thinking, I guess because you're thinking this is Star Wars, so maybe he's got a heart of gold in there somewhere, but nah, man, just don't care. I mean, he gave her necklace back, which was sweet. But, hey, he cut a deal with the Empire. You know what? He don't want to die. Just a lot of great stuff in this. I was sitting there, the movie was like 3/4 over or whatever, and I was sitting there like, I am gonna scream if Luke and Leia don't have a scene together in this. I will scream. So they did have a scene. So let's talk about the final Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker confrontation. So I was watching it, and I noticed, I did notice that that his beard was darker. It was a thing that I noticed, and I thought, well, maybe he's cut his hair, because obviously up until the point where it becomes clear that something weird is going on, I assumed he had actually come to the planet. I assumed he'd come on the Falcon, I guess, maybe. Or that he'd, like, unearthed his X-Wing from the water and it somehow still works, So I assumed he had just, cut his hair and beard, and that was why they looked darker, too. And, so it's just like, well, I'm not the sad old man living alone anymore, so I'm gonna sprucing up my appearance a little bit. But no, he looks like that because as he is appearing to these people, they're seeing him as they saw him last. So, the scene between him and Ren, absolutely fantastic. I mean, Luke is sorry for what happened, but nope, he's not here to try and get Ren to turn back or anything, and Leia acknowledging that her son is gone, and this is sad, but she has accepted it. And the fact that the entire thing is just like, I'm assuming that Luke probably couldn't have hurt Kylo either in that fight. It was just a distraction. Just, God bless Luke Skywalker. Yeah. And it was, I will say this, the first time I was truly impressed by something a Jedi did using the Force in, like, the history of Star Wars visual media. I mean, yes, the things they do on screen are impressive in the context of they are impossible to do. Like, floating rocks would be impressive because that is impossible, right? But if you establish that there is a force that connects everything in the galaxy and that things like size do not matter, then I'm waiting for something really impressive. This was really impressive. This was very impressive. I loved it. Also, just visually, the fight with all the, the red salt coming up almost like blood was fantastic visually. I thought other uses of the Force were also pretty impressive, like mainly the kind of mental connection stuff, like that Snoke was connecting Rey and Kylo Ren, and those scenes were pretty cool. I like the way those were done. It's also, I mean, it's really interesting to figure where are they going to go next. Like, what is Ren going to do next? Because this guy, he's extremely emotionally volatile. He is really not on top of things, and he does not seem like the kind of person who could efficiently run an army or an empire or really a McDonald's franchise. Like, no. I mean, he's a mess, right? So now that there's no longer somebody holding his leash, what's he gonna do, right? I don't know. I'm excited to find out. I'm hoping that we get to see more of Rey and the other major characters interacting in the next movie, by which I mostly mean Rey, Finn, and Poe, and probably Rose. I kind of laughed when Poe and Rey said hello to each other, because I was like, finally, they meet. I thought Leia was lovely in the movie. I really enjoyed her. I liked all her scenes. I think Carrie Fisher did a great job. I don't know what they're going to do in the next movie, but I'm kind of hoping that they go with something like some sort of, you know, deliberate plot thing that means that Leia has to be off somewhere else, doing something else, rather than dead. But we'll just see, you know, we'll just see. So, yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Maybe the next movie can have a Lando Calrissian cameo. That's what I want. That's the one thing I want. So, yeah, I give it 2 thumbs up. And I'm very excited for whatever movies and delights the Star Wars universe has in store.